And what's so funny is the media tries to shorten it.
They do.
They try to shorten this gap like it's this, like, oh, he's the best player in the league. Not even close. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Like, stop. This gap is so big, but you're trying to always replace the next person by putting it back. Like his work, I can look at his game and say, he doesn't understand basketball.
This man right here is Gilbert Arenas, a former NBA player who played for 11 seasons, averaging 21 points per game for his career. Now, while Gilbert was an all-star player who at times could have been considered a top 5 guard in the league during his prime, he's now better known for his No Chill Gil podcast featuring some of the most, unique takes around and being the new resting home of Giannis Antetokounmpo slander. See, recently Arenas was feeling extra spicy and decided to make possibly the hottest take in sports history. He doesn't understand basketball. A bold claim to give a 2-time MVP, which surprisingly didn't stop there, as he further commented that Giannis doesn't really understand how to be great, how to be better, or how to train his body. Now we could sit here and unpack this all day, but let's specifically take a look at that last statement. Doesn't know how to train his body, eh? Well, Gil, let's take a look at that. This is what Giannis looked like when he first entered the NBA in 2013. Weighing just 196 pounds. Now this is what he looked like in 2021 after winning the Finals MVP. It's a pretty noticeable difference. In fact, Giannis's extreme body transformation might just be the best ever in NBA history. You see, scouting reports on Giannis were worried about how he might develop his body in order to add weight to his frame. Look no further than Boris Diaw, a player who entered the league as a skinny, athletic power forward who possessed great defensive versatility thanks to his lateral quickness, yet became a slower and more sluggish player after putting on the pounds. Giannis not only has carved out a godlike physique for himself, but has maintained his elite athleticism in the process. Thankfully in this case, many European players have spoken out on the ridiculousness of these claims. However, this isn't the first time Giannis has been harshly and incorrectly critiqued. In fact, there have been many to doubt or even hate on the man, even when he proves them wrong. Many speculate this may have begun with James Harden, a sure-set Hall of Famer when his career ends, who hates Giannis for a lot more than throwing an absolute bullet of a pass into his massive beard. See, a few years back, Harden was in his prime, tearing up the league with video game numbers. In 2018, he averaged over 30 points per game and was dishing out close to 9 assists as well. The following season, he took this ridiculous stat to another level with his scoring jumping to 36 points per game, a feat only 2 other players had topped, those being Wilt Chamberlain and Michael Jordan. However, Harden didn't win MVP that season. Giannis did, averaging only 28 points per game. Now, while I could pull up statistics that suggest either Giannis or Harden had a better season, and we could argue over it all day, the MVP voting ultimately is chosen by members of the NBA media. Rather than speculate what caused them to choose Giannis, I want to show what I think is possibly the best reason for why he won the award. Harden doesn't play defense. Or at least that was the narrative that was beginning to surround him as a player. Even the average Joe could see how he didn't really care on that end of the court, and to an extent, you can still see it today. Giannis, on the other hand, was the defensive anchor of his squad, which also happened to have the best defense in the entire NBA. Anyway, whatever the reason, Giannis won MVP, to which James Harden had a less than elegant response.
When it's all said and done, they'll appreciate it more, but I wish I could just run and with 7 feet and run and just dunk. Like, that takes no skill at all. I gotta actually learn how to play basketball and how to have skill, I take that any day.
It's not hard to guess who he's talking about here. Although this narrative that Giannis doesn't have any skill, quite frankly might be the stupidest thing I've ever heard. While it seems at times that Giannis may lack a jump shot, it's obvious he's been putting in the work for that aspect of his game, and the defenses that now just let him shoot are beginning to get punished. He's also getting to the line more than ever before and converting better than ever with his increased amount of free throw attempts, not to mention his development as a ball handler and playmaker. Remember the Giannis wall? That doesn't work anymore. And let's not forget possibly the most overlooked skill of all in his defense. Being able to defend 1 through 5, on ball and off ball, isn't just about his physical tools, but also requires great knowledge about the game on that end of the floor. But is Giannis even that different to other NBA all-time superstars? Taking a look at arguably the top 10 greatest players of all time, we can see that almost all of them have a strength at scoring in close to the rim and utilize this as their main scoring option, just as Giannis has done. All of these players have been included in all defensive teams, although interestingly only 2 of them have ever won Defensive Player of the Year. These 2 players being Michael Jordan and Hakeem accompany Giannis as the only 3 players to ever win the DPOY and MVP in the same season. With these achievements already, Giannis could retire tomorrow and he would still be regarded as one of the top 25 players of all time. Yet there are still people out there like Charles Oakley who will argue that Giannis would be coming off the bench. But why is Giannis receiving all this disrespect? The first reason is the eras. Old heads will always look at the new younger players and act like they would dominate in today's league. Most of them are probably caught up in the nostalgic feeling of when they played back in the big league and might just exaggerate what it was really like playing on their court during the time. Just look at what Wilt said about if Jordan played in their era.
His playing style is he's 6'7" and he's like 197 pounds. Coming into what we call our domain, the pivot for us big guys. Would not have been very wise of Michael, if he was playing during our time. So we would say, Michael, as long as you do all those fancy things outside of where we are, that's fine. So it wouldn't have been good for Michael.
Really?
No.
You think he'd have been crushed, is what you're saying?
I don't think. I know you've been crushed. Right.
While their confidence is great, most people of their era were shooting 30% from the field and could only dribble with one hand. Not to mention the fact that they didn't have to deal with a 6'6" man dunking from the free throw line. The same can be said for players of any era. They all think theirs was the best, or the toughest, or the most competitive. Although little do they consider the reality of a 280-pound, 6'11" beast taking 2 or 3 lengthy strides down the court and bouncing anyone in their path away like a spring trampoline. But this isn't the only issue. Other players have actually lacked improvement in key areas or played in a similar style to Giannis, but seem to receive no hate. I mean, LeBron's free throw percentage practically hasn't changed throughout his career, yet people don't talk about him the same way they do Giannis. Want to guess why? Jealousy. Imagine you have worked your whole life to make it to the NBA, and are growing up playing alongside others, your friends who are destined to make it just like you. And then one day, this 6'9" athletic freak shows up out of nowhere with the potential to one day destroy you and any other competition in the league. A raw prospect who you are hoping doesn't have the mentality to utilize their God-gifted skills and become one of the most dominant forces the league has ever seen. Giannis is the player that all NBA players have feared. And unlike most modern players who maintain friendships with players on other teams, meeting up with them to party and train in the off-season, Giannis does none of that. Rather, only talking to those on his team, treating everyone else as a rival or opponent, and putting in the work to win, much like 90s ball. European players have often felt this disconnect in the league for years. Overall, also lacking the respect that they have rightly deserved, whether that be by falling in the draft with the likes of Dirk and Doncic, or being deemed less capable than American talent. Even the lack of opportunities for players like a young Goran Dragic or Lucas Spinolis. As we are beginning to see a massive surge in promising talent that isn't just draft busts from Europe, we need to change our views on prospects and players who aren't American. And maybe most importantly, we need to stop disrespecting Giannis before any more of us look like clowns. Thank you, and I'll see you all later.
Okay. Why did the Orange lose the race. Nobody gonna ask why. Somebody gonna say why. I don't know why. He ran out of juice.